Meet cute, boy, your meat is really fucking cute. John C.
Hello, and welcome to Meet Cute, the cutest little show you'll ever hear with all the cutest guests and hosts you'll ever hear. I should really get a consistent start to this podcast, but I don't have one, so my name is Joshua Harvey, as always, and with me is... You know what? I'm going to do this a little bit differently this week. Let's do it like this. In this corner, we have Matt Wango Tango Weenie Roast Shipway.
Oh, you can do better than that, Josh.
Okay, hold on. Let me think. All right. In this corner, we have Matt. I don't know what I'm doing today, but I'm still hungry Shipway. In this corner, we have Lilly. You're never going to be cooler than me. Dagdigian? How do you pronounce your last name?
Dagdigian.
Dagdigian?
I'm just making it up. I don't know. No one knows. This is like the 4th generation removed. No one has any idea.
With us, we have...
Go with Daggers. That can be the wrestling name.
Ooh, that's
See?
a good one.
There you go.
With me, we have my friend Lilly, who is an awesome person all around. We'll get into that in a minute. I like to ignore the guest for a little bit and say, "Hey, Matt, how you doing?"
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Actually, I'm doing good. Lily's laughing at me because
Okay, is good better than okay, or is okay better than good?
I would say good's better than okay. Personally.
Okay. But you started off saying you're okay, so there's something going on. What's going on with you,
I just
Josh?
want to be better than you.
Well, I mean, we've had this discussion, and you know it's not going to happen. But I feel like you should keep trying, and then one day you will have the championship belt of being me.
I really like how you kept it on theme for this week.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing all right. I've had a shitty day where I couldn't get out of bed, and everything seemed terrible. But you know what?
Well, I'm going to interrupt. That sounds like a great day, not getting out of bed.
Well, I was just telling Lily earlier, I'm not able to do it comfortably because after a while my anxiety just starts increasing and increasing and increasing, and I think of all the things I should be doing that I'm not doing, and I'm also thinking of all the repercussions of me not doing them at that very moment. So, like, my body starts overheating, my sheets start feeling too scratchy, and I just can't stay in bed. But
Well, that's the problem, Josh. You need to start living more in the moment.
The moment?
Just be in bed and then just focus on that.
I can't. But that's hard. It's really hard.
Well, get a different mattress.
Okay. No, I already have, like, an insanely good mattress. Courtesy of Craigslist.com.
Well, then you're doing something wrong, Josh.
Okay. But, I mean, maybe if, like, Lisa Mattresses, like, started sponsoring this podcast, I could talk about how great my sleeping experience is and my being in bed experience is.
But they don't, so don't say any of that.
Well, I can't say that because I don't know. For all I know, Lisa Mattresses could suck. I'm not sure if that's a good way to get them to sponsor.
It's like, we think you suck. Prove us wrong. Sponsor us.
That's actually not a bad way to go, though. Like, yeah.
We're issuing a challenge to Lisa Mattresses.
Meet Cute Challenge. Are you really that good? Live up to your dumb podcast reputation.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, we have this. We have the guest here, Lily, to talk about something I don't know anything about. Matt seems to know some about, and Shinny seems to know a lot about. Lily, hi. How are you doing?
Oh, I am also good.
Yeah.
And fine.
Yeah.
Both.
You spent a long time in bed today too, didn't you?
I did. November, this is just a great month and year for everybody, I think.
Yeah, we're doing great.
We're doing great.
Everything's perfect. Nothing is going wrong outside of our beds. We're just doing great. I just got back from going to LA visiting the asshole you hear in your headphones.
Aw, that's nice.
I mean, I was there for more reasons than that, but let's just say I went there simply to visit him.
You could have just said that and not said anything else, and that would have not hurt my heart as much as it did.
I went out of my way to go to your house twice.
Dang.
Yeah, thanks. That nice of you.
Yeah, you owe me.
I mean, okay.
That's how friends work. I did something nice for you. You should probably talk about how appreciative you are of it.
Yeah, it was great. It was very nice of you. Thanks for being a friend.
You are a good friend. But in terms of wrestling, that's what we're gathered here to talk about. I don't know anything about it, and I feel like a lot. I hear a lot about it because a lot of my friends growing up were into it, and especially since I seem to know a lot of comic book nerds, and every comic book nerd I knew of was really into it. So I was like, I guess I should be into it, but I don't even know where to get to it because I always hear that you had to like pay to watch it and stuff. It just seemed too complicated, so I never got into it. That and it seems so. It's too butch for me, I think.
That's where you're wrong.
Yeah, what's butch about two men wearing only Speedos grappling each other?
Mm-hmm. It's the campiest thing you will ever see.
I think my appreciation for camp is low. That's the other thing.
Well, it is. Okay, so the reason all your comic book nerds also watch wrestling is because they're the same thing. It's just perpetual, same characters, but constantly evolving. No one ever actually dies. I mean, unless they actually die. But no one ever is gone forever.
R.I.P. Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yes, exactly.
R.I.P. Owen Hart.
Yeah, R.I.P. literally everyone. Eddie. Anyway, yeah, so it's everybody is constantly at risk of returning or turning into a bad guy or turning into a good guy, and it's the same as comics in the sense that it's like continual fan fiction of itself at this point.
Fair enough.
Yeah, my dad used to tell me when I was a kid when I would watch it, he'd say, it's just like a soap opera but for guys.
Exactly, yeah. It's it's live stunt work plus improv plus acting plus stunt work plus, did I say that? Yeah, no.
It's all that.
It's everything.
Yeah.
And like...
It's everything you could possibly want out of
everything.
entertainment.
It's everything.
Well, let's get into it. My history is obviously very limited. I just heard about it a lot growing up. Lily, what was your experience? How'd you first get into it? How'd you first hear about it? And like,
oh, man.
What made you first excited about it?
Okay, so I have like one or two vague memories of watching The Undertaker or Hulk Hogan when I was like 5, but the real memories are, let's see, around age 10 or 11, my hockey team, which was a co-ed hockey team, which meant me and 12 boys. It was the Attitude Era in WWE, which is there was a lot of crotch chopping. It was the most popular it's been in quite a while. There was Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker.
Oh, yeah, that was when a lot of the wrestlers were wearing like just black shirts.
A lot, yeah. Like there was the DX type of thing. Well, there's like this spoopy goth crew that always exists. That was like the Undertaker and various rotating cast of minions, always kind of being, an Undertaker. There was DX, who's the ones whose catchphrase was "suck it." So,
Wait, did they do that cross thing over there?
Yeah,
exactly. That's them. That's where your
remember.
classmates. That's why that happened. That's why 1996 was the way it was.
Yeah, I specifically remember one time they brought Mike Tyson on stage and he did that. And I was
you sure did.
I was like, you don't need to be part of this, Mike Tyson. Everybody wants to suck your dick.
Yeah, it's. They have a complicated relationship with celebrity. See also Donald Trump in their the WWE Hall of Fame.
And Billy Corgan.
Oh yeah, and Billy Corgan owning TNA / selling it / owning it / I don't follow TNA, but I really should apparently.
So Undertaker was sort of one of your ins. He seems to stick out.
I like creepy goth stuff, and 10-year-old me was like, "What's that?" So all the boys and me would attempt to watch it every Monday night or something like that. It got to the point where our, a pregame, whatever you call it, hands in the center and you shout together sports cheer thing. That should have a name. Anyway, instead of like 1, 2, 3 go team, it was 1, 2, 3 SmackDown, which was first The Rock's kind of word and then became an actual TV show. Anyway, it was pretty pervasive in the mid to late 90s if you lived around 12-year-old boys constantly.
Which some of us did.
Which some of us did. But all of us were exposed to the crotch chop at the very least.
So yours was like mid to later 90s?
Yeah, so that was the first time, let's say, I don't know, like 6th to 8th grade, I was kind of watching semi-regularly. And then, hit high school and did other stuff. And then it really started again, I guess, summer of 2007. I was hanging out in my dorm, and a couple friends and I were reminiscing about the Attitude Era, and happened to be flipping around, and we're like, "Oh my God, wrestling's on tonight! We should totally watch it. I bet we'll hate it now. It'll seem so ridiculous." And that was that, and we were immediately re-addicted for the rest of senior year, for the rest of college, which made our academics just so much fun.
Where'd you grow up?
Boston, and then I went to college in Connecticut.
Okay. So, whenever I think Boston, I think of dudes yelling really loudly about something or other. So
That's fair.
I feel like the popularity of it
Yeah.
there kind of falls in line with my expectation of it.
Well, the WWE was sort of, I believe, started as a East Coast, particularly sort of like New England wrestling company. It was, I think, started by the father of the current owner, who's like 75, and it's really run by his two kids right now. You kind of have to think of wrestling companies as it's evolved out of the circus, so it's really like these are
familial.
It's super familial. Backstage, lots of secrets backstage, like it used to be. They were trying to actually convince the audience that this was not predetermined. So,
Wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sorry. Well.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
This podcast is all about exposing Matt to things he didn't know about.
Nail
until
has been
right now.
pierced.
You mean to tell me The Rock didn't actually deserve all those wins?
Oh my God. He has the stupidest finisher. I love that man more than anything in the universe. But the idea that coming to a full stop and dropping your elbow on someone is a move that would end a match, as opposed to all the brutal destruction.
The people's elbow.
The people's elbow. There
I
you
know
go.
things. I know
You know
things.
so many things. Yeah, it's a stupid move. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm sure it hurts,
It's nonsense.
right? If you're made out of rock and then an elbow comes down on you.
That's true. If you're made out of the rock.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't hurt, but compared to it's supposed to be his finisher, like you're supposed to be Dunzo forever. If that hits you, it's.
I would like to argue that The Rock should have kept his last name in play. That way, he could have been Rock Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well,
pretty.
yeah.
That's more of a porn name.
Oh, I guess you're right.
He did it kind of. Did he?
How is wrestling not
No.
porn?
No, it's porn. It's like exactly porn.
There's no full penetration.
It's kinky porn when you get down to it, especially when they start talking about submissions. Generally,
Do you have to have a safe
either,
word to show that you've given
yeah,
up?
you tap out, which I'm not
That's
saying
actually
is how,
not a bad
yeah.
safe word.
It,
Tap
no,
out.
that's what I do. Safe words are distracting. Tapping out is awesome, and from wrestling. But yeah, so they tap out, and it's submission, and then the announce team will refer to it as domination pretty consistently.
You're like, I'm getting very interested in
It's
this.
very interesting. And some of the moves, if you've seen people be hit in happy context, they're like, oh, that's literally the same. That's just the same as people hitting each other for
there's
pleasure.
there's like maybe 12 moves total, but there's about 120 different names for them.
Exactly. Yeah, there's
How
a
dare
few
you say that?
categories. No, but there's and then there's just a billion variations on each move. There's you can do a suplex, but then there's belly to belly, or the German suplex,
right.
or the
Let's hold off.
All
getting
sounds
into
like
that.
sex moves.
yeah, all of them. It's the Kama Sutra of sports entertainment.
Okay, Matt. How did you first get? You can smoke weed right into the microphone. I don't
Okay,
care.
cool.
Lily's being all discreet about it. Like the listeners will see and be annoyed. Matt, how did you first get into it, and what first got you interested?
It was mostly when I was a kid, so probably late 80s. It was mostly because after cartoons would go off on Saturday mornings and wrestling would come on. And so I would just kind of stick around the TV and watch that because what else am I going to do? And so I would watch that, and it was really intriguing because I was also in the comic books, and there were storylines, and it was two guys beating the shit out of each other. And I thought that was pretty awesome. So I watched that probably up until maybe around the mid-90s. But that's when, like, I was in high school and started playing music and having sex with girls. So I kind of moved away from... That's about when I stopped caring about wrestling. But then apparently that's also when it started getting, like, a lot more interesting. And I've missed out on so much, I guess.
Well, let's weigh this right now, Matt. Do you think you missed out more by not knowing about wrestling or about having sex with girls?
Yeah, it's hard to say right now.
All right. So, what era did you first get in? Like, Lily referenced.
The attitude.
Yeah, for me,
Attitude.
I don't know if there really was a. Well, it was a
Like, who were the big
Hulkamania
names?
era.
Hulkamania, yeah.
Yeah, it was like Hulk Hogan,
The
Ultimate
golden
Warrior. Yeah, Andre the Giant.
Lily's disagreeing that may be
No,
the
I'm just trying to
golden
remember what it's actually like referred to as. I don't. Yeah,
don't know,
Hulkamania
that's
is as
when-
good as any.
Yeah,
I think.
that was back when it was the WWF, and when, I don't know, it was just all over the place. Hulk Hogan was in everything. Everything was like WWF, and it was a good time to be alive.
Good time to be alive.
Yeah.
So, all right. I mean, so that was like the era of high gimmick. Although I guess it's always been high gimmick.
It's pretty consistently
Well,
high gimmick.
yeah, I think that's when it like first started
More
getting
racist,
really
maybe?
popular.
Oh yeah, no, there's hell.
Oh, definitely. Oh,
That's
yeah.
its own
Papa Shango?
episode, though.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
Holy crap, the racist. Yeah, because they're stock characters, right? Everybody
Yeah.
to some extent is a variation on a stock character, and boy, do they almost always mess up any stock characters of color. Not great.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, they even
brutality.
had a slave.
Yeah. Oh,
Nigel.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
He was Nigel, $1 million man.
Was he like an escaped slave?
No, he was the $1 million man's manservant, and so
Wait.
Oh my God.
Do you remember The Godfather?
The Godfather. No.
Okay, The Godfather. This dude, this motherfucker, dressed like a pimp and not like actual pimp. The hat and the stereotype in '90s movies generally of a pimp, and came out with the hoe train. So
Oh
10
my
or
God.
so women who were supposed to be prostitutes would come out with him every time.
Imagine having to
yeah.
go in for that casting call.
Oh yeah, it's just like 10 local models as you travel, Woohoo. So, yeah. There's some pretty horrifying stereotypes in the past. The wild Samoans, who, as you can tell by their name, good start.
Look, for all I know, they're fun at parties.
Yeah.
That's what they mean.
It's interesting the way they try to, retcon some of their racism. Or no, they don't even try to retcon it. Okay, so the wild Samoans, one of their sons is currently the big hero in the WWE right now. His character name is Roman Reigns. They're all part of like I said, it comes from the circus. So there's essentially 5 or 6 families. All of them are just interrelated and married at this point. But there's a big Samoan family. The Rock is a part of it. The wild Samoans, Rashiki, a whole bunch of people. At one point, the owner of the company, as his character, Vincent McMahon playing Vincent McMahon, is harassing the good guy Lee by bragging about that he's one generation from a bone through his nose, referring to his father's character, which did in fact have a bone through his nose. And then he goes on to explain to Roman Reigns about how he cheated his father out of every dollar he could. Yeah,
Dang.
so I was like, this is kind of fourth wall. Is this self critique? I don't know what this is, but
It's high drama, is what
yeah,
it is.
yeah, that was weirdly self-referential, but adding it to the plot retroactive. I don't know. I'm still processing that that choice.
So you seem to know a lot about the wrestling history and stuff. Was like WWF one of the earliest ones that like majorly hit the mainstream?
Certainly more than anybody else. So this is actually, yeah, I'm not super
I remember there was
strong. It's
WCW, and that was bullshit. I
What's
refused to watch
WCW
that.
stand
So
for?
it was the World Championship Wrestling, and that was
Yeah.
also, there was the Monday Night Wars in the 90s. So basically, they both had their flagship programs playing at the same time, you know, pre-technology of any sort. No. So so it was the Monday Night Wars, constantly going back and forth as to who would win the ratings, and then, you know, the wrestlers themselves would occasionally be going back and forth between the companies. So there's the real competitive feel, and then
So
of
was
course
the
it ended.
competitiveness in that way real?
Yeah, like those were real. They were not related, and it ended with Vince McMahon buying WCW in the
So one side
early
bought the
ups.
other
So
side?
one side won. Yes.
Wait, who's
Yeah,
Vince
and they
McMahon? I
merged.
hear his name. I've always heard his name tossed
Oh
around.
man. So yeah,
He's
so
the owner of WWE.
Yeah, both in real life and on screen, and
Yeah.
his character is Vince McMahon, and he is the boss of the company, and he is 95% of the time the top bad guy.
Yeah, he's always the villain, and he's always overacting.
Yes. He
So,
has-
Josh, you should definitely...
That's probably the only thing I know about him. Is
Yeah.
that he's got like white hair, right?
no.
Hold on a sec. I gotta look this
You
up.
might be thinking of Ric Flair or something like that.
Oh yeah, I probably am.
But yeah, so Vince, so he plays himself as the evil corporate overlord, which is
Oh
you know,
yeah, I
accurate.
recognize him.
Yeah, you should. So there's no way to verbally convey his walk as he walks to the ring. So I'm just gonna have to tell everybody to YouTube that. But there's the way he walks. There's a whole different type of movement around the shoulders and the arms than I have really seen before. Somehow it's completely ridiculous, and also it's the campiest masculinity ever.
So it's like if a like 1950s era strongman was turned into a 1950s era robot.
Yeah, you know Spider-Man's
sounds
boss at the
Oh, J. Jonah Jameson.
yeah, that's the one. Like kind of like
Now I know what you're talking
Josh,
about.
That-
yeah. Finally, a reference Josh gets.
yeah, he's basically that except more.
Except with muscles.
Yeah, except with muscles and
yeah.
like
That makes a lot of
muscle
sense.
grandpa. It's creepy. Like with actual comic book body
So he-
proportions, like if those proportions
So
exist.
Vince McMahon walks like
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons sounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's big and gruff and scary, but like that's how he walks.
Yeah, and he also sounds like that.
Yeah, he also does sound
Yeah.
like that.
Why do the worst people always sound like that? Vince McMahon, J. Jonah Jameson, Alex Jones.
They're the boss.
Because they want you to know how terrible that they are. They're giving you a warning beforehand.
Like
Rush Limbaugh definitely has that. Yeah.
where it just sounds like you have the grease from the steak that you ate last night stuck in your throat.
It's like, if you could sit through and listen to me talk for this long, then you're just as bad as I am.
Like you can hear them ashing their cigar.
All right, so Vince so he owns WWE,
Yes.
which is different from WWF
No,
and WCW.
It's the
basically,
same
it's
thing.
the same thing. They just had to change it. Basically, the World Wildlife Federation was like, "No, it's our acronym," and the WW
Which is
and the
probably
wrestling
the
lost.
funniest thing ever.
Yeah, it's great. I have a
They lost their name to an animal organization.
Yeah.
But no one's ever going to think of the animal organization when you say that. I'll always think of wrestling.
Well, I do. I only know that because when I was a kid, I used to always put stickers on my door, and for some reason, I had a World Wildlife Federation or whatever. It was just a panda with WWF underneath it. I was like, this is a fucking weird wrestling sticker, and I just stuck it on my door, and then I learned later on, I was like, oh no, they're not the same thing.
I actually have a gimmick. I have a gimmick.
People
t-shirt
wrestling bears all the time. Apparently,
I have a gimmick T-shirt right now. It's two pandas, one about to hit the other with a steel chair, and it says WWF underneath.
That is solid.
Yeah. So the McMahon children, so they're the third generation of the actual owners of the company, and they play, stylized versions of themselves right now. Right now, there's Shane and Stephanie McMahon. Each of them is in charge of one of the weekly shows. Stephanie ended up marrying one of the wrestlers, Triple H. He is also now a CEO on the show, and in real life they're married on and off screen.
Who drastically changed his image from when he first appeared on the show.
Oh yeah,
when he first started wrestling, he was like a hoity-toity rich person from like New England.
Yeah, he was part of the Greenwich Street.
Well, easy to hate. Then. Was he a heel?
Oh yeah, he was a villain for sure.
Oh, almost always.
And then now he's like I don't know. He's a badass, I guess.
Well, he went through. So let's see. Yeah, so he came in as Hunter Hearst. So Triple H stands for Hunter Hearst Helmsley. So he came in as this like fancy man, like not one.
And it's a bummer nobody ever calls him that anymore.
I know. Well, they call him Hunter. Like they pretend like that's his real name, and so like his wife Stephanie will refer to him as Hunter on the TV
when she's angry.
Yeah, and it's funny in all of the backstage. Stuff they have now, because it's all fourth wall, so they just went full reality
which I think is
model.
a smart way to go.
Oh, it's so smart. But it's still like it's not all quite there. Like you never really see the Undertaker because he just never breaks character. You never see a couple of the more old school dedicated people. They would never take part in the sort of reality show aspects of it. But even in that, like they refer to Triple H as Hunter. Like even though you're seeing him in his actual role as like a really like fatherly figure to all the baby wrestlers, he's still like everyone like legit calls him Hunter in real life. So it's a book waiting to happen on like the weird liminal reality / whatever comic book. It's a weird thing.
So I heard there's like, all right. So there's the two. Well, I guess if one network bought the other network, where's the competition going on then?
Okay, so minimal.
Oh god.
But simultaneously, it's gotten very popular globally, and so then like local wrestling and is huge, and like the best wrestling in the world. Generally, the nerds say is happening in Japan right now. New Japan Pro Wrestling is a huge organization. Yeah. There's AJPW as well, but I forget what the AJ stand for. And then there's TNA, which still great job naming yourselves. Thanks, the 90s.
What's that stand for, though?
Total Nonstop Action, which somehow makes it worse. Oh, I broke Josh. Okay. And that, my friend,
you said the 90s?
I'm pretty sure they came up with that name in the 90s. If you can't tell,
that sounds like a really like early 2000s thing to me. Actually,
yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure they started in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like around the time when like Rob Liefeld was drawing. So like in comic books, so everybody was. So that was when all the action was happening.
And that, my friend, is the organization that Billy Corgan is now fighting over. I'm not even sure.
It's like I'm tired of smashing pumpkins. I want to smash some heads.
Yeah, essentially.
Good one, Matt.
Thank you.
It's really weird.
Did you think of that last time we mentioned Billy Corgan? You're like, I'm going to bust that out soon.
Nope. Right on the spot. Thank you.
Good for you. Professional comedian here, folks.
Yeah.
Look, you're professional, Matt. We say it enough, it'll happen.
But yeah, so it's huge in Japan. There's TNA and Ring of Honor around these parts.
Ring of Honor sounds very Southern.
Right? I've never seen any of it. I just sort of... I've started to be more of a nerd about it later, but it's really just sort of following my favorite people currently in the WWE, like, back and seeing where their history is, because they're trying to expand, and they're drawing in, like, some of the biggest stars in Japan, as well as, like, referencing the other companies now. Like, in the 90s and aughts, it was like, you don't mention the fact that other organizations exist. Ooh. This is the only wrestling that's ever happened. Now they'll actually refer to New Japan Pro Wrestling sometimes.
So does each company, like, have its own continuity that they have to respect in some way? Or do they retcon things like
Well, they usually have their own characters, but some characters have come over from, like, the WCW into the WWE, and
those are generally different universes.
Okay, well, I guess that's the thing, is, like,
it's like Marvel versus DC, kind of.
There's just so much, like, fourth wall breaking. I never know how strict each company is to its, like, its own universe, quote unquote, and stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they'll make reference. It's somewhere in between, and it isn't quite a consistent attitude if you stop and think about it for a second, because they'll be like, he comes here from the indie circuit, TNA, like, all of that, but then he won't necessarily have, like, kept the same name as from when because they really like, you know, trademarking their own particular names.
That's one thing I do know about wrestling.
Yeah. But so, like, I kind of, maybe I'm just making this up, but if you keep your name, if you get to keep your same name, then you're more likely to sort of have some type of continuity with your past career. Like, currently, in January, they signed AJ Styles, who's
sounds
been
like a porn name,
right? Yeah, it's all porn. Everything is porn. Yeah. So they signed him. He's, like, been, like, Mr. TNA and in New Japan for, like, 10 years. Like, probably one of the top 3 biggest names.
That should be a wrestling
right?
name, Mr. TNA.
I think they do. I think that's, like, a thing that they, like, I don't know. It was, like, an official nickname, or I don't know if it was something you compete for every year. I don't know. I should stop talking about TNA because I know nothing about it.
Also, every time you say it, I'm gonna.
I know it's total nonstop action.
I think it's more funny to me just because, like, no matter whether you go by what it stands for or its initials, no matter what, it's ridiculous and over the top.
Oh yeah, no.
I don't know how they did it, but they solidified the ridiculousness of it all. Good on them. That's some good writing. They know their audience.
They're sticking with it too. You're not gonna. No, it's 2016. And we're gonna still be TNA.
Speaking of their audience, do you think are they more welcoming to women now?
Yes.
I feel like at one time it didn't seem like
it was the worst.
Yeah, it seemed like a boys' club.
Yeah, it's majorly okay. So. I know zero about how it has gone outside of the WWE, but basically, as of 2 years ago, no, even less than 2 years ago, there has been what they are proudly internally calling a women's revolution in
I've heard
wrestling.
Of that,
yeah. But essentially, they just started having amazing wrestlers. There were four women who came up through NXT, which is WWE's developmental league, and they're all amazing. It's Charlotte, who is the daughter of Ric Flair, who's one of the biggest wrestlers
I've heard
ever.
Of her,
yeah. So it's Charlotte, Becky Lynch, who's Irish, Bailey, who's the love of my life, and Sasha Banks, who is she's like the most popular person ever. And they are all just insanely talented wrestlers, like real jocks. They can do, more flips and dangerous, cool looking moves. Like basically until less than 2 years ago, it was like bra and panties matches and pillow fights.
Yeah.
Like 95% of the time. Like the matches would be 2 minutes. There would be 0 to 1 women's matches per event. They'd be the pee break, like everybody goes to the bathroom at the, like, it was really bad. They don't know how to give them any plot lines beyond, like, they're fighting over a boy, probably. I guess that's what girls do, right? But so these four came up from NXT, and they sort of made a plot line about it being the Divas Revolution, because it wasn't the women's division, it was the Divas division at the time. And so they had them basically, like, you know, run over the entire division, eventually take it over in an awesome way. And then at WrestleMania this past year, they changed the name from the Divas division back to the women's division, and, you know, did a whole, like, oblique sorry thing. Like,
Sorry about all the misogyny.
Yeah,
Hashtag
sorry.
whoops.
Oops, oops.
Well, yeah, they also used to have Glow, which was the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling back in the 80s. And it was pretty much just very large women with horrendous makeup just body slamming
Like
each
China?
other all the time. Oh no, nothing even remotely close to China. Just very large, rotund ladies just smacking the shit out of each
Fat
other.
ladies. Okay.
Oh, I didn't want to say that, but sure.
It's
there
okay
was-
to be
there
That
was-
was circus.
Oh, it is. out
yeah,
of the
no,
circus,
yeah. But it was just nothing compared to what it is now.
That's So now it's a lot. I think Lily put it nicely, where it's jock no matter what junk you have.
Right.
Excellent work. Yeah, and they're still, like, they're not there yet. There's still a lot of model-y leftovers at this point. Like, there's still a couple people who, you know, they did hire models essentially and teach them how to grapple, like, in that order for a while. Like, and they'd be fitness models, so, you know, they're not, like, totally non-believable, but not wrestlers, and they weren't, you know, they didn't let them look ugly in the middle of a match. Like, you don't really let them take risks. So last night, I actually, like, cried watching Monday Night Raw a little bit. So they had a championship match between Charlotte, the current champion, and Sasha Banks. They have a ferocious rivalry.
What's their rivalry?
They
I'm sorry
hate
for
each other and
Okay.
stuff. Charlotte, they like, you know, went up through the whole leagues together. Charlotte is all self-centered and she thinks she's the queen of everything because she's the best
Drama.
wrestler. Yeah, but, like, it's more in, like, the boy cocky way,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
amazing. Like, because she grew up. She's basically like her dad's character in a. You know,
She's legacy.
she's like, she's doing the whole legacy. She calls, you know, she refers to herself as genetically superior. Yeah, it's great. Which is
Oh, my.
great.
Wait, Trump is also somehow involved in wrestling?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
give
for
me
sure.
So they had a championship match last night. They started, and then there was the double count out, which is when you're out of the ring for longer than 10 seconds. 10 seconds usually means, like, closer to 40 seconds by the referees. Interesting counting methods. But so they had a double count out, which means it's a tie, which means nothing happens. The champion keeps the belt. But then the general manager came out and was like, "It's not ending like this. This is the best rivalry ever. Now the main event tonight is going to be a no disqualification falls count anywhere match." And that is when I started crying, because that indicates that it was going to be, like, one of the more hardcore physically in the, like, creepy wrestling way that they've ever let the women do, which is amazing. And it was that. They had Sasha Banks beating the shit out of Charlotte with a kendo stick. There was there a table shot? No. You know, huge. Oh God, she, like, Charlotte flipped off of the announce desk, like, 10 feet to the floor and onto Sasha. Like, really brutal moves. And they ended up, like, pinning her on the concrete, like, through a weird. Anyway, it was hardcore.
It was intense.
It was actually hardcore, in the wrestling parlance, and it was amazing.
Yeah. So in terms of your emotional reaction to it, what do you think, like, resonated with you in the way that made you feel that strongly?
That they were letting them be athletes. It wasn't. They were letting them take the same risks and taking them seriously enough. And again, like, letting them be not like ugly, but, you know, not worrying about their makeup or them making weird faces or being contorted or sweating even.
Right.
Like, honestly, they like would not let them sweat until like 3.
I mean, it's amazing that they wouldn't let women do anything, and then you had just I don't know. Who's the guy with the crazy face paint in like
all of them
the 90s?
Yeah, it's hard to say. There's
the
Sting,
80s,
Ultimate
rather.
Warrior,
Yeah.
80s,
Oh yeah,
there's
Ultimate Warrior.
Goldust.
Yeah. Anything Ultimate Warrior did looked ridiculous. So
Yeah.
I don't see why.
Well, he was my favorite for a long time, and then,
Why?
and then like I don't know, just because he was the Ultimate Warrior, you can't get rid of
yelling.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like all of a sudden, like a couple years ago, he came out as being like super racist, and then he died. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
You're
There was a
like,
big year
I'm
for
okay
him,
without
yeah.
that.
It was weird. The day before he died, he gave like an inspirational speech, like on Raw or something like that, and like, yeah, it was weird. It's weird. Wrestling's weird.
It's weird because it's really macho in a lot of ways, but also like high theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also a lot of fanboys for wrestling, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
something you wouldn't really expect for something that's so macho.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They fill fucking stadiums anywhere
No,
they
it's
go.
amazing. And now everybody is like self-aware nerds about, not everybody, like there's still lots of little kids who like it. There's people who aren't quite as but millennials are super weird about how we consume media, and so they refer to themselves generally as smarks, which is so traditionally there'd be marks and smarts in terms of who was watching wrestling, and marks would be the people who didn't know that it was predetermined, who were like just buying into it
like
as
a
it's
rube
presented to you.
Mark.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
And smart would be someone who maybe knew someone backstage or something, but was otherwise informed that this was a play. And so
Theater.
as time goes on, and those two groups, you know, there's more overlap. And then especially in the last, I don't know, 10 years, there's just been, it's just self-aware fans, and they're like they're like constantly critiquing the narrative. You know, you'll have people cheering for the bad guys because they're like approve of how awesome this character is. Someone will betray someone else, and the audience will be like, oh, but they'll also be applauding because like that was a good plot twist, great job, guys. You know, all these like fourth wall breaking. Like there'll be a sign, someone will say like push Tyler, and like push, like give him more screen time, like do some sort of plot line that makes him look strong, you know. So it's participatory theater as well. Like add that to the list of like it's comic books, it's acrobatics, it's live stunt work.
I feel like
yeah.
I always wonder in terms of the production of it, like, because there's obviously some sort of script, but it seems very much like a Christopher Guest style script where they can sort of riff a bit on things as long as they get to the place that they're supposed to go.
Yeah, generally the scripts are fairly heavily guarded, but when they do come out, there's lots of wrestling nerd debate about what and generally I think the nerds think that the less precisely scripted scenes are way better, if only because when they try to write out an actual script, they get it's just, and I don't know why it ends up being the worst writing, like suffer and succotash, etc. Like they literally made oh god, like I saw something where they were like, look, compare, we have like 2 leaked script pages, here's one from the 90s, here's one from now. You can just see, like, one is like Stone Cold comes out, talks about what he wants to do, like 2 minutes, okay, cut to promo, cut to Undertaker being creepy, like this very bare bones room to improvise. And then now, like, it was a literal script, and it goes back and forth, like things change at the last minute still, but I think it depends on the company, it depends on who the particular actors are involved in, how much they trust them, how much
It seems like any performance industry where you kind of have to work your way up and prove yourself and whatnot.
Right.
And it's so much more because there's also the physicality aspect too, and that's seems like a tough industry to get into, but fun. I know in LA it's doing pretty well because they have a lot of the independent underground ones going, and I hear there are some really interesting Mexican. Lucha,
so it's big in Japan, and luchadors in Mexico is a huge tradition. That's been going on for quite
Also,
a while. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I know they have
least
some
as
sort
long
of
as-
like network or something.
There's
down there
Lucha
as well.
Underground is the league, but
Yeah,
I'm not.
or the
I
league, yeah.
totally. I'm so out of touch with how TV works these days. But so I'm not sure where or how they air. But yeah, that's another of the huge leagues, and there are luchadors in the other leagues as well. Like, you know, masked.
Yeah, you need
wrestlers.
your tropes.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's the best.
It sounds really interesting. And I don't know. I always shied away from it just because I'm like, oh, it's so much fighting. And I guess some of the reasons why people don't jump into comic books where I'm just like, there's so much history and like stuff going on. Even though I highly doubt you can't jump into an episode and just enjoy yourself.
Oh yeah.
Well, absolutely, I think that you can. I mean, John, I think the way that I'm going to turn you into a fan right now is you need to Google a video of Macho Man and Hulk Hogan talking. It's like a pre-interview, and Macho Man is obviously on cocaine because he's like screaming at the camera and just doing like the whole like weird jaw thing when you're on coke. And
I don't know anything about that.
it's hilarious. And I like, if I had never seen wrestling before, after watching that video, I definitely would have become a fan.
Seems fun, but also like, I don't know. I think a lot of the macho stuff drove me away from it in some ways too.
Yeah, definitely. Like I
a lot
always
of posturing.
Yeah, like whenever I see a person with like a wrestling shirt on, I know to not have a conversation with them.
Well, especially like in the Inland Empire in Southern California, like anyone like, is Tap Out a wrestling company? Or is that...
It's an MMA thing.
Yeah, they have a big relationship.
Okay.
WWE, and they're constantly wearing the gear and having commercials with everybody in
Yeah.
it. So I'm not sure how
All right, that was
tight
just-
it is.
All right. Either way, Tap Out I knew wasn't a good way to go. And whenever I'd see someone with like one of those overly produced like wrestling T-shirts where there's too much going on the T-shirt for it to be sensible in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
It looked like a really bad like movie poster from the 80s, but like filtered through some guy on cocaine and Monster Energy drink, putting it together and screen printing it. That was always something I'd see and be just like, I don't think I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
But then they're like a lot of people in the comedy community are really into wrestling, and like a lot of people in the entertainment industry at large coming up. I know a lot of horror film directors have been into that as well. It just seems like it's definitely over the top, but people know how to have fun with it in a lot of ways.
Right.
I mean, it's just a totally
it's
unique
very-
form of entertainment and
It's
storytelling.
also very tongue-in-cheek as well.
I guess it's difficult because I feel like a lot of people enjoy it for so many different reasons, and the thing that I always think of when I think of not necessarily nerds about wrestling, but whenever I think of like wrestling fans, are always the people in the audience who look like crazy-eyed and have no clue that it's that it's a production of any kind.
I know. So, yeah.
Really going along, they're riding that emotional roller coaster really
So this
hard.
past year, I've actually started going to live events whenever they're in town, and it's been really, really interesting to see who's there. So that when I went to Money in the Bank pay-per-view in Vegas. And lots
what's it
of cool
called?
people. Money in the Bank. The gimmick for that one is my favorite fucking gimmick of all time. Basically, there's a briefcase at the top of a ladder, like suspended above the ring, and you got 7 or 8 guys fighting to climb the ladder and grab the briefcase. Whoever does that first wins.
That's amazing.
And inside the briefcase is a plot device, which allows you to challenge for the championship belt, you know, anytime, anywhere, whenever, whatever.
Awesome.
Doop-a-doo. So yeah, they brutally fight for a plot device.
What an American thing to like open up the briefcase and get the plot device out of this.
It's because it's a contract. Is the idea, but it is really great. And the guy generally then carries the briefcase everywhere he goes until he catches
Because they're also professionals.
Yeah,
They are.
it's great. It's great. But anyway, so that was the pay-per-view I was at with my long-suffering partner, who only goes to these things because he's just like, you look so happy. Oh, I don't get this at all, but you look so happy. But gay man couple sitting behind us did not expect, and they were like super like the kind of jockey. But I think there was also they were acting more butch because they were also like, fuck, we're going to a professional wrestling thing. But then like once we sort of had an understanding of like queer to queer identification process, then like at least one of them started getting, you know, more gay as we all had beers and
sniffing
grew more
in
comfortable.
the pheromones.
Yeah. And it's so dramatic. I mean, you're screaming, you're jumping. Like my voice is always hoarse. I went to one of the NXT shows. That's their developmental league. So usually when you go to that, you're getting the real wrestling nerds, who, you know, the cheering will be way more enthusiastic because everybody kind of wants to buy in. You want people to do well and to get like the narrative storylines.
I mean, you're pretty much extras.
They deserve. Yeah, you totally are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so great. Yeah. And so at that time, we're surrounded by people mostly in their 20s. Is San Jose, like, probably 3/4 people of color, all, like, super hyper, like, self-aware about the thing, and, like, oh, did you see him in this match, like, when he was in the Indies? Like, everybody just complete fucking nerding out. Like, the most nerdy, oh god, it was
but
great.
being able to talk about the storylines is like part of the fun, just from reading comics. I know that.
Yeah.
And like the people out here when I was younger were like people like Matt and other people we know who'd just be discussing stuff they'd seen like when they were younger anyway.
And just like in comic books, like half of the fun of talking about it with your friends is like shitting on creatives' decisions with your beloved characters. And that is like what wrestling is all about. That's what being a fan is.
And also
like,
you get to
dumb.
you get to resolve all of your problems by having your favorite characters fight at some point.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, yeah, it's comic books.
It's comic books, but with fewer shiny powers.
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't know. I mean, there's an
was
the
Appalachian
Undertaker
death
actually
cult.
a?
He's a dead man. That's
Okay,
still in the universe. He is a dead man. Kane is a demon who has occasionally dragged people to hell, even as recently as like a year ago. Like literally bursts up from the ring and drags someone under, like literally.
Yes.
And then the next Monday, the character is like, "You just stood there and let Kane drag me to hell." And does not give any explanation of like what that entailed, how he got out again. Later, this other like Appalachian death cult, I guess, is the best way to describe them. Like somehow kidnapped the Undertaker and his brother Kane for like a couple weeks and stole their souls. But then they come back and had the revenge a few weeks later. And I'm not really clear on, like, were they kidnapping that? Like, is this...
Well, they obviously got their souls back.
I guess. So, like, but how? And, like,
Or
while
did
they had
they?
their souls, the leader of the Appalachian Death Cult was like, I can command the lightning! And, like, you know, the Undertaker's, like, lightning cues come on. And he's like, I can control the thunder! And Kane's, like, fire comes out. And so you're like... So you just got permission to use their gimmicks? Is that what the soul is? You got the guys in the back to like let you do. It's all It's a very
I mean, you're
incoherent
making this sound more
universe.
appealing with
It is.
superpowers
Yeah.
and
No, there's
soul
so
stealing
these
and
are
stuff
definitely
like that.
superpowers. There's always a good cult going on usually. Like there's been a lot of cults. There's a straight edge cult for a while. That was cool.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna jump onto popular trends and stuff anyway.
Yeah. And there's always cults. They're always trendy.
Cults are evergreens. They're just good all the time.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your favorite moves? Matt, I'm gonna start with you. Matt, favorite wrestling moves?
I don't know. I mean, I was always a fan of Undertaker's moves just because he had the tombstone, which was just pretty much a pile driver, but between his knees. And Yokozuna, when he would do the tsunami splash,
Wait,
and
what's
just,
the tsunami splash?
he would get on like the first or second rope of the ring, and he would drag the person over by the ring when they were knocked out, and then he would just sit on them pretty much. He would jump up and then just slam his ass right onto them, and that was always entertaining because Yokozuna always wore he wore one of those
I don't know.
I can't think of it. I don't know.
Was it one of the sumo diapers?
Yeah, it was like it was pretty much a sumo diaper, and so he would always rub his ass in his opponent's face whenever that would happen. And I was like,
Smelly.
so good.
Matt really laughed at those butt jokes.
I'm a sucker for it. What can I say?
Lily, you've been sitting there really scouring your brain.
I have been. There's a lot going on. I like a good high kick thing because I don't know how I don't want the magic to be broken of like how exactly they managed to kick each other full on in the fucking face as far as I can tell. Like in person on TV, I'm like, you're just kicking him in the head. Like that's just what happened. Like how is that okay?
Because the bottom of their boots are stuffed with pillow stuffing, and that's why it's just like a pillow to the face.
That.
But no. John Cena's wearing sneakers. Like,
All right.
But yeah. So who has good a guy Shinsuke Nakamura, who they just keep stealing. He was the biggest star in Japan. There's like gloop. Mine now.
It's the major leagues.
Yeah, and so he has this kind of brutal. He kind of like just puts the victim in the middle of the ring, and then kind of runs at them and does this sort of like knee to the face at full speed. That's a nice one. There's a move called the super kick, which has been lots of people's, like Shawn Michaels and Dolph Ziggler and other people's.
What makes something
closing.
a super kick?
It's real high up in the air. It's kind of you're just,
imagine a kick and then make it super, Josh.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
You have a kick, a normal kick, which is whatever. But
Punt.
this one is like. Generally, your opponent is standing, and you kick them in the face with one foot, the other foot still on the ground.
Oh, dang.
So it's turned sideways, like it's like
That's
a
some
high
ballerina shit
It's like
right
a high martial arts type kick, like yeah.
Okay.
So 1 foot planted. You can also do drop kicks where you just jump and hit them in the head with your feet while Then
And
you
then
fall
you
down.
start a punk band.
And then you start a punk band.
Thank you.
I like when they go through the announce tables too. It's nice. I like when they break things, not themselves, but tables.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of stuff gets pulled on stage. What's like the craziest shit that they have up there? All I've really seen are like the ladder, chair.
Mm-hmm.
They'll jump on some.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they tried not to get any like crazy shit. Like they're not going to throw a machete up there. Or...
No, they're not going to throw a machete.
That would be interesting.
They did have the most recent like thing that they did where they knew they were going to get blood. Well, besides like have Brock Lesnar exist, but they had a cage match. They like called it an asylum match, and it was generally stupid. They had like various asylum related props inside that you could beat each other up with, but then there was also just a bag of thumbtacks, which they did in the 90s all the
Put it on
time.
the man
like,
and slam him into it.
yeah, exactly. And
It's
so
like Home Alone.
He, slam exactly, and that's literally.
They should just throw some
exactly what he
micro
did.
machines in there and have
Chris
somebody slip
Jericho,
on it.
yeah, Chris Jericho was slammed on his back into the thumbtacks, and bleeding everywhere. Complained about how he had to pull 69 tacks out of his back. It's a complaint for the next. I know, right? I don't know how he got away with that. It's TV PG now, Chris. Yeah, so that was the most like we are definitely this is going to make blood, and this is what the plan.
Is there like a blood thing that they have to plan on?
So
Like, what's
what
the
they used to
policy on
do
blood?
until 2006, I think, the blood happened because they were blading. You would
wouldn't they
hide
cut
razor
themselves
blades.
beforehand?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not beforehand, but like
Okay,
you'd
yeah.
have the razor blade stuck in your wristband or
Yeah.
knee pad, wherever worked best for you. And then when you get kicked in the face, whatever, you roll over on your belly and slice open your forehead because your head bleeds really easily.
Yeah.
All of that. And so you'll see a lot of the old wrestlers, their foreheads are just fucked up. It's like all scar tissue and like...
It was the best watching like Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair bleed because they had white hair. So the blood would just automatically transform the hair into a fibery red. It was like, oh... This is all real.
There's plenty of videos that you can find. It's like 10 bloodiest matches ever if you want to, creep yourself out a little bit. And like 3 of those matches involve the Vince McMahon, the owner of the company. Like he has fucked himself up so bad, like really entire like carry levels of being drenched in his own blood. Wrestling's super weird.
Yeah.
Like that's really weird guy.
That's probably his version of like a office Christmas party or like giving out presents for Christmas. He's like, I'm going to let you pretend to beat the shit out of me for this one match.
Yeah.
Good times, right?
Yeah. There's a fun little clip online of during one pay-per-view, John Cena's blade fell out of his it just fell out of his wristband onto the mat like right in front of the camera, and it stayed on it for like 3 seconds until the ref swung by to pick it up. But I was just like, oh, that's a razor blade. And now it's on the floor. And that's that.
Dang. So they're just willing to, like... It's one thing willing to, like, bleed from the impacts of the things that you're doing, but willing to just be like, I'm going to cut myself now.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's really...
Well, that's
really
the thing, because
weird.
there's no real impacts, Josh.
Well, yeah.
I feel like there's probably a little bit.
There is, yeah, I mean, there's...
I mean, the guys who've been there a long time.
Japan comes in.
Tired.
So, Japan is way more intense about a lot of things.
Japan's more intense in some ways?
Sometimes.
A little bit, yeah.
They're out for real blood.
They are, and so it's called strong... Well, the funniest thing is it's like this weird nonsense in like immediately fourth wall breaking thing because it's called strong style, and essentially what that means is like these kicks are making real contact. Right. But that's implying that the rest of the kicks, that the other styles are not strong, aka they are not real. But anyway, like certain parts of the moves, depending on who the wrestler is and what type of move it is, will be, I mean, there's impact. You're not trying to disable your opponent like you would be in MMA. It's a performance, but you are actually hitting each other. And a lot of them are like, have been amateur wrestlers in the sense, like the sport that goes to the Olympics and whatnot. Yeah. Like a lot of them come from that.
Wrestling.
Yeah, precisely. And so a lot of the really advanced ones, like I think Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, who are both, Kurt Angle has a bunch of Olympic medals. Brock Lesnar is a terrifying human being, but they would just like actually grapple, like they'd just be wrestling. Yeah. I mean, they'd still have a general plot outline of how the match was supposed to go, but within those segments, like they just go at it because why not? So it really, the faker.
Professional.
It's hard to the level of fakery is
level of fakeration you got going on.
I also think it's more like what they're doing is like selling the move so that we are convinced that move hurts a lot when in reality like that just doesn't hurt that bad. Like getting hit with a kendo stick is like, as a kink person, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what that feels like, and it hurts for sure, but it's not like you're not disabling yourself. Yeah, like you can handle it. Like it's not.
You can enjoy that.
Yeah, like I see what material that's made out of. I understand what level of like I get that, and they are just selling it to be like more debilitating than it is. So I think that's a large part of the fakery is just making the audience believe that this move is devastating.
The Devastator.
The Devastator. Naming them helps, yes.
Like, if you're saying something is the Devastator while someone is getting the Devastator and then sells it, you're just like, dang, he just did the Devastator on him. Matt, did you ever think that wrestling was real?
Oh, of course. Yes. Until, my dad just ruined it for me.
Oh, your dad's awesome.
It's like, he was like, this is fake, right? I was like, it can't be fake. He's bleeding.
Yeah.
How do you fake bleeding?
That's not allowed to fake bleed it, yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, no, it's all fake. It's like a dance that they're doing. It's like, that's some pussy ass shit. We're talking about wrestling right now.
Yeah.
So there was a point where you Santa Claused all over
Right.
wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course. I think every wrestling fan started out as a victim of that, believing that everything was real, and then it's like going to a movie. It's a willing suspension of disbelief. Just, you're there for a good time, and that's why people are. That's why
Lily,
people enjoy it so much.
Did you have the moment of Santa Claus?
It was when I was watching from 10 to 12. It was more a degree. Like I was like trying to figure out to what degree it was predetermined, because I was like, maybe they, maybe they sort of like decide as it's going who deserves to win or something. Like I had all these like I just couldn't figure out at that age like where the line probably was, and it is still like a question because especially now they just base all their plots on real life, and
it's a very meta industry.
It's the most meta.
Thinking real hard there.
I know. I had a really cool story and then I lost it. Oh yeah. So when I started watching regularly again like a year and a half ago, and the first time I coerced my boyfriend into watching it with me, he was just like flabbergasted because he had never watched before, and he just thought that everyone there like thought it was real, and like it was just like everybody else in the country knew it was fake, but these wrestling fans were somehow totally like just clueless. And I was, and we're watching it, and he's like, so they know that this is fake, and I'm like, yeah, Eric. That's assault. That would be assault leading to attempted murder. Like, they would be arrested right now. That man is attacking the other man during his other match. Like, that is not sanctioned athletic behavior. That is a crime.
There's no like national law where like inside of a wrestling ring is just like fair game.
Yeah, exactly.
No holds barred.
They literally hit each other with cars, and like, and again, dragged to hell, which has to be at least like some kind of misdemeanor. I'm not really clear, but yeah,
I would like to see that case in court.
It's technically not across state lines, so
yeah. So there's a.
Actually, I would love to hear some of these cases in court.
I think. Well, oh man.
I was getting ready for a match. He hit me with a car and then dragged me to hell, sir. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I got better and I came back, but just the fact it was very uncomfortable down there.
So, sir, you say that my client dragged you to hell, and who would you say are the kinds of people that are in hell, sir?
Oh, the worst kind. That's why I got out.
Well, but might I add, would you even be able to get in if you didn't deserve to go there?
Well, it's like I said, I was dragged, so
Your Honor,
I wasn't a willing participant.
He is permission to treat him as hostile, and then you get into a wrestling.
So they do have wrestlers' court backstage. Just so you know. So, okay, yeah. So obviously,
is there a judge wrestler?
Yes. Here we go. So, yeah.
Does he have a gigantic gavel?
Well, okay. So as we said, like, it's a circus, right? So you get this group of 50 to 100, whatever, depending on the roster, people traveling around the country together, spending a lot of time together, and generally being roided up intense people. Less roided now, but still pretty intense dudes.
What counts as roided anyway?
Yeah. And so they get into, scraps with each other all the time. And to mediate these things so they don't just get completely out of control and turn into, actual assault, the Undertaker presides over wrestlers' court, which he has done since like the mid-90s apparently.
He's a perfect judge.
And so if there's any gripes, he'll listen to both sides and mete out an appropriate punishment to the offending party. a new guy, I remember, sat in first class instead of in coach with like the rest of the team. He like upgraded himself, and that was seen as super cocky. And so the Undertaker made him buy booze for like 5 of the like veterans for like a month or something like that. I'm pretty sure it was either booze or dinner, but booze sounds more fun.
It's sounding a lot like courts just in the South.
Yeah, it's just a frat. It's a frat, but with the Undertaker as the pledge master or whatever the fuck. Like, yeah.
Oh man, that's
So don't worry. There's plenty.
Our thoughts aren't original. It's already there.
It's all taken care of. And
kind of want to be a writer for wrestling now.
I know, right? I feel like
It's
M.
so
Night Shyamalan
tempting.
would be great for this entire series.
it's a really.
All the twists and turns would be amazing.
I tried.
Turns out all the wrestlers were ghosts.
Well, they've been buried alive in some cases. The Undertaker was buried alive a couple times.
Wait, would he really be buried alive?
Yeah,
since
like
he's
literally on. I don't know how they.
But he's
Well, they just did some sort of low key magic, like.
Yeah,
An
that
illusion,
magic is
Michael,
called
like
editing.
that type of magic. No, but he's been buried alive. There's like they've been Inferno matches where first person to catch on fire loses. It's like lighter fluid stuff, so like, they catch on fire and then it's like fairly easy to put it out.
You mean
but, like,
fire play?
It's fire. No, I told you, it's the same. It's just sex, but gayer. I don't
You're
know.
Do you think your kink affiliations make this a lot more enjoyable to you?
I don't know. I think it makes it more intriguing. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it's directly
not like-
pleasurable
yeah, I
in
don't
any
mean
way.
pleasurable,
but
just like-
well, it's
I get
pleasurable, but
that.
not sexually.
Yeah.
But it is another aspect of it that adds to my fascination
Yeah.
for sure.
The fact that it's adjacent makes it more interesting.
Yeah, and I have this ongoing theory that I haven't quite figured out how to verbalize yet about like the masculinity is so over the top that it's almost like drag, even
Yeah.
though the dude,
Yes.
even though it's like being performed by cis dudes, it's like somehow even then there are drag kings. Like,
Yeah.
I need to sit down and actually write that queer theory paper or something because I'm not sure where it goes from there. But like, it's really. It's very performative. It is extremely weird face paint.
I like that.
Like-
I like that it seems to, because I feel like it has a stigma, like it stigmatizes like yokels and like idiots being fans and stuff. But like, don't you study law or practice law?
Yeah.
So like, it's really all walks of life, and I've heard a lot of like people in the entertainment industry, people like all sorts of people seem to be into it. Doesn't seem
Yeah.
limited to
I mean, I think
digits.
yeah, there's still not everybody is enjoying it the way I'm enjoying it. Some might be doing it in a less horrifyingly analytical way, but there's a like rising proportion. It's going back to it. It's again like comic book nerds. Like there are comic book nerds, and then there are also kind of more casual
Yeah.
superhero fans who are
They see all the
kind of
movies,
marks in the
yeah.
same way that people who might like just directly. I don't know how to draw the distinction
The
because
type
I
of
think it just
people
might be
who-
class based, and so I'm worried about that. Like I think it's just like academic superiority kind
Right.
of
Well, or the
affects
people
how you
who-
enjoy things. But
Or the people who walk in like, oh, I heard Batman died. I want to get that issue. Like, 'cause
Yeah,
they'll
yeah, yeah.
publicize it, and someone will go. Like, I remember when I worked at the comic book store, and like, Darkseid took out Batman for a week, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're gonna be all right? Batman's dead." I'm like, "All right, look." He didn't die. He was just hit by the Omega Sanction, and I know that doesn't necessarily kill you. It just makes you live worst possible lives over and over and over into eternity up through time. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean he's alive. And even if he was killed dead, I wouldn't be that concerned.
yeah, I think maybe the difference is when you're because this works for comic books too, is when you start like being intrigued and involved in like the creative side of it. Like you're interested and you're like, oh, Joss Whedon's writing this stretch. It's going to be killer / terrible, depending on your opinion of Joss Whedon.
Yeah, like Astonishing X-Men.
That type of thing, as opposed to just reading and being like, oh, it's different this way. Like I shouldn't do dumb voice because it's just a completely like if it's not a thing you like want to sort of peek backstage on, you're just not going to have that.
I do the dumb
level
voice
of nerdery.
too. Or just like, all right, so I know I should be excited about Joss Whedon jumping onto X-Men right now, but like just the dialogue that he gives all the characters is just a little bit too heavy-handed, if you ask me. Well, doesn't really let them play into their own characters. That said, I've gotten every issue.
Yeah, exactly. Versus the people who might be reading it like fairly regularly, but would not be able to tell you who the author is. They'd be like, I don't fucking know. It's Batman. Like,
it's the
author.
Difference between the people who say like, oh, that run that Joss Whedon did, or oh, like when the X-Men, went to space and got invaded by the Shi'ar for some odd reason. Yeah, that sort of shit. Yeah, I know a lot about comic books, ladies.
Nice, Josh.
Just to let you know.
The peeking backstage is more, I think. It's and the way they interact with fans who want to do that and kind of invite that at this point. It's just sort of endlessly fascinating. It's such a unique cultural thing that it's the weirdest form of storytelling ever. And debating whether they're a genius or the worst is always great. Like, knowing, like, oh, I could do this better is always a huge part of it. They've been really a lot better this year. It's weird. I'm not used to them being kind of good, but it's been like maybe just straight up actually good the last couple months.
Fair enough.
Weird.
I just found out that John Cena was a wrestler recently.
Really?
Because I just always thought he was like a giant pink dude who shows up every once in a while on like TV and movies. I thought he was just like I thought he was like a bodybuilder or something. I don't know.
He was like the Bumblebee from like those Mexican shows. He just shows up whenever he's needed.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
You didn't grow up in Southern California. You may not know about it as much.
Yeah, he's the biggest star right now, but he's not like wrestling a lot because he's
he's too big
being a crossover star.
Is The Rock still involved in wrestling in any way?
No, he'll come back and like say hey once a year or something, but he's also pretty busy being The Rock.
An A-list actor.
Yeah, and he's what? He's in his 40s now. I mean, he's still real fit, but and they'll have people come back for kind of nostalgia runs, I guess. That's kind of a little negative sounding, but people can always come back for special matches and like they
always bring like Hulk back around.
Well, Goldberg just came back and
that's right.
Insane. It was insane. I don't. Okay, so
lay it out for us.
Goldberg is now 50. He was like this huge dude to start WCW in the mid 90s. Was never really that much of a wrestler. Just like more like just a straight up destroyer. He would just like run through people with a spear. That's not with a... Okay, sorry, that sounded like a literal spear. No, a spear is like you dive at a dude's midsection. It's kind of like football destruction.
I see, okay.
But more so.
I recognize this guy.
Yeah. He was like super big. He had like a huge undefeated streak. He was just like scary and would mow you down and murdered everyone.
Looks like he was one of the people who popularized tribal tattoos on your arm.
Yes, correct. He was a wrestler in the 90s. So he's been retired. He hasn't wrestled in 12 years or so. Okay. Other person, Brock Lesnar. Are you familiar with this name?
Brock makes me think of a large white guy, but
yes. Okay. Well, that is certainly who Brock Lesnar is. He does all kinds of. They're like he's the world's most decorated combat athlete.
Russian?
No, he's terrifying. Ohio, maybe? I don't know. No, American. But
okay. He looks like
what Hitler was aiming for. That's what he looks
exactly.
like.
He just looks Aryan and
like that was the goal. Was Brock Lesnar.
Just like a potato-headed.
Fucking terrifying, and he's okay. So he's terrifying because he does MMA too. He just his character is like really not a character. It's just him, and he just doesn't give a shit, and he just will beat anybody up anywhere. Just tell him what the rules are for that particular thing. It doesn't matter if it's like MMA or amateur wrestling or professional wrestling. He wants a paycheck.
So he's like white privilege personified.
Yes. Destruction.
Yeah.
And so his shtick right now, he like only intermittently comes back because he like is expensive. But it's that he is just a murder machine, essentially. Like, he is easily supposed to be kind of like this mythic figure. He destroyed the Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania. Like, he's just like, oh, there you go. And so he's just like the strongest built-up character, and
so he's a final boss character.
He's the final boss, precisely. The last time he wrestled was at the end of August, where he opened up Randy Orton's forehead in a matter of like 8 minutes, and the match had to be called because he was bleeding so profusely, and he needed 9 staples in his head, and he just did it on purpose. Like, I think that was scripted, but I don't think it was meant to be 9 staples in his head and stuff. But he like purposefully elbowed his forehead and opened it up, and then there were staples. So that's like the type of destruction. So I was totally sure. Yeah. And wrestling has a tradition of, you don't like get to win when you retire. You are like, you lose. Like, you don't get to walk off into the sunset a hero. Like, it has to like make internal sense that you are leaving.
Yeah, you make sure that people don't want to ever see you again.
Yeah, no, not like that. But like, you don't get to like walk off being the best. Like, you need to pass the.
You lost for a reason.
You lost for a
good
reason.
enough.
Yeah, like, and now you're like, okay, I'm done. Like, someone needs to like gain that power. So it was entirely, everybody thought Brock Lesnar was going to beat the shit out of Goldberg. It was just going to be, he's coming back for like, you know, a big cool thing. It's just a matter of, you know, how long is it going to take, and how badly is he going to brutalize him? Like, I put the over under, like, I was like, I think it's going to last 7 minutes, and I think he's going to start bleeding at 4 minutes. And I was fairly certain that was the thing, and instead
it was tribal tattoo versus tribal tattoo.
Exactly, but 50-year-old tribal tattoo versus current murder machine Aryan terror. And instead, in the biggest like plot twist ever, they had the 50-year-old Goldberg beat Brock Lesnar in 1 minute 26 seconds with 2 spears in a row, and then a jackhammer, which is where he picks up the dude, holds them vertically for a few seconds, and then slams them back on the mat.
Ouch. Owie, as they say in the
owie.
industry, I'm sure.
Owie. That is what they say. You are correct.
The ultimate owie.
And it was, yeah, they're having a lot of fun, like, just making montages of the fans' faces at that point. They have, like, a really long set of it that they keep playing. It was
the presidential election of World Wrestling.
Yes. It really, really was, except I think it was except it was the opposite feeling in my heart.
Right, yeah. Whereas opposed to it being an awesome twist, it's the worst thing possible.
It is the apocalypse. The twist is the apocalypse.
Okay, so what was your most memorable moment in wrestling that you can recall?
That one was kind of, honestly, that I was like watching, like, when it happened. I think that was probably it. That's,
okay.
I mean, because it's certainly in this round of watching again. Like, I only started watching regularly again a year and a half ago. And 2015 was a kind of weak year narratively. So I think that's going to be an iconic moment. Yeah, and like, I wasn't watching when the Undertaker streak was broken. Like, that's probably would be the more agreed upon iconic moment of the past few years. I think I remember Stone Cold Steve Austin turning into a bad guy and aligning with Vince McMahon in the 90s. I think I remember seeing that happen, and that was...
Wait, wasn't he...
huge.
I thought he was always a bad guy.
Stone Cold?
Yeah.
No, he was the bad... He was, like, a dick all the time, but, like, in a cool middle finger, way and cracking the beers and pouring them down his face. No, he had the best feud ever because it was just like him versus Vince McMahon, the boss, for quite a while, and it like that really like broke in the Vince McMahon character. It was just real good, and everybody likes a good boss versus brash working class hero storyline. And that's where he he improvised the line, Austin 316 says you can kiss my ass or whatever, and that's why we have to see Austin 316 signs and t-shirts forever.
Wait, was that a sideways reference to John 316?
That is correct.
Oh my god.
Yeah. He was like someone, I don't know, I forget, I don't know
You
who he was
missed out
talking
on
to.
so much, Josh.
No,
I really have.
Josh, like, this is no joke. This is the best. Like, I don't know
Your
how
look
to
on
explain
your
this
face
to you.
is like...
I can't proselytize this enough. There's an Appalachian death cult that, like, he says he's a god, Josh. He talks to his dead sister named Sister Abigail. And she has at least once apparated him out of, like, a locked room. At least once. Like, get in on this, man. Like... Oh god, okay, yeah, and it's not just WWE that's crazy. There's this thing this year. The Hardy Boys are like kind of one of the most beloved
Kid
duos,
detectives?
kid detectives, and North Carolinian wrestling brothers. So they're real names. They're really brothers. Their real names are Matt and Jeff Hardy. Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Like, it's real. Wrestling is real. They've both been WWE stars before. Jeff has like a prescription pill problem, so he kept getting kicked out.
Whoopsie.
Anyway, but now they're TNA affiliated. I think when you're out in the world that is not WWE, you can more switch between like more frequently. But anyway, so they had half the time they'll be tag team together, and half the time they'll be having brother v brother plot lines. So this one. There's this thing they did. It's called the Final Deletion, and it has broken the wrestling world to the extent where WWE crowds will chant "delete, delete, delete" for no reason.
Do they come out as computer nerds with like
no
thick frame glasses with tape in the middle?
The entire thing is that Matt Hardy has just gone insane and now speaks in an English accent and has given himself like a white streak a la Rogue. And like he was
Good
like,
reference.
and is weird.
Yes.
And then Jeff Hardy is kind of normal, but he's also called Brother Nero, and he's also called Will-o'-the-Wisp, or like he's done a lot of drugs.
That's too many names.
Yeah,
They
so he
have
was like, "I'm going to
unenviable
delete Matt." So Matt Hardy has been referring to it's broken Matt Hardy, whatever. That's the character right now. And so he said, "I'm going to delete Jeff Hardy from our family." I can't even do the fucked up accent he's doing right now. Anyway, and then he sends drones into Jeff's house and like is like, "Come to my house tonight." And like he has a hologram, like a Leia style hologram, and is like, "Come to my estate." He sets up a ring in his backyard and like
Wait, in North Carolina?
yes, in North Carolina. It's basically the most surreal 17 minutes you can watch, and it's so, but it worked because it's so bad it's good, or people are like, no, it's just straight up good, but like that's kind of half of the fun. We do want it to be just good a lot of the times, but like it's such a unique storytelling format that like you can actually argue about like, is this the worst thing or just creativity, man?
Yeah. Like I said, these guys have unenviable style, and
it's good better.
Trying to find somewhere where they look cool, and I can't.
Look up the girls look awesome sometimes. Look up Sasha Banks. S-A.
Oh, I was just talking about the Hardy Brothers.
Oh, the Hardy Boys. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
look like ravers.
They do.
They used to wear. I mean,
they,
it was
they
the
make
aughts
me
when
understand
they
why this was popular in the Inland Empire.
Yeah,
They're always trying to investigate if the E is real or not.
Yeah, it's not. It's opiates. Damn it, Jeff. I was so in love with him. I have a Hardy Boys sweatshirt and everything. I love him so much, and he just.
I want to get you a Hardy Boys. Waifu pillow.
Oh God. That's horrible.
Which I can't remember what those are called. Kuka. Fuck. You don't have to wait for me to fight. So. Oh man, so good. I feel like we're running long on this one, and I'm okay with it. Dakumakura is what those pillows are called.
Oh, great.
You guys know.
Thanks.
You learned something today, cuties.
Yay.
In case you ever wanted to hump a pillow that has a face on it, there you go.
You don't necessarily hump them. You don't hump everything that's in your bed, do you? Matt is very quiet.
Everyone had to think about that.
I hump my bed, so...
Yeah.
It is pretty humpable.
There
I've
you
seen
go.
So yeah, if I'm gonna leave it up to each of you to like very, very briefly try to sell me or the audience on wrestling. Well, I mean the entire thing has been that, but like succinctly, Matt, I'm gonna start with you to give Lily some time to think, and you're better at improving, Matt. So really sell me on wrestling. Why?
Okay, well, do you like guys beating the shit out of each other? No. Do you like girls beating the shit out of each other? No. Well, too bad, because that's what we have. And it's all wrestling. It's just people beating the shit out of each other all day long, for hours on day. There's also some story. In case you were worried about that, you can get involved. It'll make you worried. It'll make you happy. It'll make you sad. All of the emotions that anything will bring to you, you can also find in wrestling. So I think that, you're making a mistake by not watching wrestling.
It's essentially like saying you don't read.
I think that's it. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that most wrestling fans don't read. But either way, if you want a story and you want some kind of a... I don't even know. Just watch it.
No, you did a good job. I was moved by your speech. Mm-hmm. Lily, can you top that?
No, but... So my friend pointed out the first time I took her to an event, like, she said, I'm booing. I have never gotten to boo at an event before, because she's like one of the nicest people in the history of the universe. So like, not even an opposing baseball team, anything like that. No, but you can boo, because booing is cheering. The real booing is saying nothing at all. And that there's all sorts of weird urges that you didn't quite know you had that wrestling satisfies. Like nerd stuff, it's like this infinitely intricate universe, but that's ultimately a finite and knowable universe. Like kind of why Star Wars nerds are Star Wars nerds. Like,
I see that.
You can keep learning, but it is ultimately like you can be the best at knowing all the things.
It's like Star Wars, but without any force or lightsabers.
No, there's force. What did I say? Undertaker's lightning, man.
You're true. It's all force.
Lightning. It's like specifically force lightning.
Most of the force is behind their fists and their kicks.
Yes. They can do magical flips.
You both have convinced me.
Yeah, they're magic. Also, there's my girlfriend Bailey, who comes out and hugs everybody, and she gets wacky waving inflatable arm men to cheer her on every time.
Did you just refer to one of the wrestlers as your girlfriend?
You should look her up, and she can be your girlfriend too, because she's perfect, and I love her.
I'm glad you're willing to share.
B-A-Y.
If she wants to dispute it, she can call into Meet Cute and say it's not true.
And she's the cutest. She's from San Jose, so we're halfway
California?
there. Yeah, California.
one of the first things that shows up is an action figure of her, and I didn't know that would be one of the first
Yeah.
things that came up. I was like, man, she is weirdly shaped.
Yeah, her
Oh, okay,
action
never
figure's
mind.
been a little weird.
She looks like a Bailey.
Yeah, she's also interesting. Yeah, because she's like, I mean, she's adorable and beautiful, but her character isn't like overtly sexy at all. Like at all. She gets to
looks
wear
like-
pants and doesn't have cleavage.
I mean, when I think
Like-
of a Bailey, I think of someone with a top ponytail.
That's what she has.
Yeah.
That is actually, that's one of her trademarks. Like, and then like in the middle of a match, and when it when it's like gotten loose because you've been fighting for 10 minutes,
Yeah.
she'll like
Does she
do the
whip
thing
people with it?
where she no, but she'll do that thing where you like determinedly pull your hair to the side so your scrunchie goes back up and it makes you look even more silly. And then she throws people across the ring because she's super cool.
One of the first pictures that show up on Google search is just a close-up of her butt.
No.
Of course.
Yeah, I know. That's problematic at times. She's wearing a t-shirt that says, "I'm a wigger."
No, I'm a hugger.
Oh, hugger.
Oh my
Wow.
The way it's folded, like, because it's
No,
not completely
that's
straight.
her thing.
I was
Is,
like,
yeah,
oh
she's,
no.
So it's
I
because
think you're
her,
just saying what you want to see, Josh.
You're right. That is exactly what I
yeah,
want to
it's
see.
because her move, her like finisher, is a belly to belly suplex where she like hugs the person essentially and then flips them over and slams them down. And also because she's a perfect angel and like hugs all the little girls on the way to the ring and is a role model, and she's gonna get all kinds of young girls to beat the shit out of each other when they're old. It's gonna be great.
We need more Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
No, we need more women beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah. Feminism.
Well, that's cool. I'm sold on it. I would actually be interested in going to a match.
Oh
Do
my
it.
god. You're missing out, Josh.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, have you been, Matt?
I have. The last match, I've been to a few of them, but the last match I ever went to, prepare yourself. It was a crossover with Boy Meets World.
What?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I broke the mic.
I don't know if anybody is a fan of Boy Meets World out there, but
Everyone
there
is.
was there was an episode. Okay, so one of the characters played by Ethan Suplee from Mallrats and My Name Is Earl.
Okay.
He was one of the friends on that show, and his dad was played by Vader, who was a big wrestler in like the mid-90s, early mid-90s. And so I went to a wrestling match with my friend, and they filmed an episode of Boy Meets World there, where it was Vader versus somebody. I don't remember who. But they had the whole fight happen, and then they had Corey Matthews come on out. I know that's not his real name, but they had him come out, and his friend come out, and then his other friend come out, and they're like, "Oh no, Dad, you can't beat him." And then like they had microphones in there so everybody could hear what was going on. They're like, "Oh, what the fuck is happening right now?" Because I had no idea that this was like that they were filming an episode of Boy Meets World during this episode of Monday Night Raw or whatever it was.
I envy your confusion. I really do.
It was
That
very.
makes it so much better.
I don't blame you. It was a double treat because I got to watch Vader wrestle and Boy Meets World come out and share the audience with everybody.
Fred Savage?
So, no, not his Ben Savage, his
okay,
brother.
Ben Savage. All right.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to find me, I'll be on an episode of Boy Meets World in the audience of the wrestling match.
How old were you?
Ooh, maybe 13,
That's
14.
awesome. Little baby Matt, all confused and
Yeah.
excited at the same time.
Wait, but did you know who the characters were? Like, did you recognize them when they came out? Were you familiar
Oh,
with
of
them?
course. I definitely was a fan of Boy Meets World and
That's
WWF.
trippy. That's awesome.
Well, that's cool. I don't have any stories to tell because I haven't got anything. But I've been exposed to this whole new world that I've only heard of on the side. I'm glad you guys are able to educate me and some of our look. This show's educational, so it's good that people.
We
are
try.
listening. We try.
It may
really-
not be the things that you want to learn, but at least you're learning something.
Yeah. you'll be able to converse with your 13-year-old nephew or something, or cousin.
Or your coworker.
Yeah, you never know. Wrestling fans are everywhere. Do you have anything you want to push or promote? This is coming out tomorrow. It can be you or anything you support. The hundreds of fans want to know.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I work for the Justice and Diversity Center of the Bar Association of San Francisco, and we help out low-income people in San Francisco. A lot of our work right now is fighting evictions and whatnot. And it's Christmas, and you should donate to us. It's sfbar.org. We're awesome.
It's not a bar in San
Not a
Francisco.
bar, but it is.
But even if it was, I would still go and visit it.
It's lovely. Anyway,
All right, cool.
Stop
SF bar.
evictions.
All right. Yeah, evictions, which are all too common here in San Francisco. Matt, anything to push onto people?
Nope.
Okay.
Watch wrestling.
Yeah. Also do that.
Well, I'm going to say go over and listen to my other podcast, Welcome to Sunnydale, the number 2 in there. It's a podcast about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We're just about to hit the episode where Angel loses his good side and Buffy loses her virginity. So,
Oh my god. It's a great show. You should listen to it. I was on it once. You should specifically listen to the episode that I was on.
What episode was that,
every
Matt?
episode. It doesn't matter. Just look for the one with me on it.
You are listening to
It was the one where Buffy kills some things, and then Angel shows up, and Giles is like, "What?"
Good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, go out and find Welcome to Sunnydale on iTunes or the internet or something. Feel free to hit us up on the meetcute@gmail.com. Meet Cute on Twitter, Meet Cute on Facebook, all that shit.
Be cute all day.
Meet Cute all day, all day. Thank you, Lily, for coming and hanging out.
Yes,
Matt,
Thank you.
You're obligated to be here, so I'm not going to thank you.
I mean, I'm not really obligated. I could just not do it.
Cool. What would you be doing right now?
Probably getting high.
Fair enough. Yeah. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. Until next time.
You guys are the best.
Yeah. Until next time, I have no sign off.
Like I'm thunder and lightning. Ain't no
We're Meet
breaking me, kid. I'm harder than nails. Plus I keep it on lock like I'm part of the jail. And slaughtering stale competition. I got the whole block wishing they could run with my division, but they gone fishing with no bait. Kid, your boy hold weight. I got my soul straight. I brush your mouth like Colgate. In any weather, I'm never better. Your boy's so hot, you never catch me in the next man's sweater.
Meet cute, boy, your meat is really fucking cute. That's it.